Azure Power Platforms. And over the past few years, I have been involved in D365 development, X++ programming, and technical solutions for different projects. And this is our first public demo class on Dynamic 365 Finance and Operations, technical with X++. And the purpose of this session is to make it simple for learner, freshers, and even working professionals to understand how D365 finance and operation development works. So we'll be doing these sessions, demo classes every week. And in each class, we'll focus on a specific technical topics. And so basically today we are starting with the basic details of finance operation ecosystems. So I am sharing my screen to show you. So today we'll first look at the ecosystem of D365 finance and operation, both businesses and technical layers. Then I will explain the development tools. We use Visual Studios, Lifecycle Services, and Azure DevOps. And also we'll see the development and deployment process, how code move from our system to production. And then next we'll learn about model packages and then application object tree AOT, where all elements of D365 finance and operation live. Finally, then we'll cover X++ basic like variable data types and classes. So let's now understand the ecosystem of Dynamics 365 finance and operation. When we say ecosystems, means we mean everything that makes up the products, both businesses, function, and technical components. In D365 Finance and Operation is a part of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 ERP family. Basically, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, which is software that brings different business process together in our system. From a basic, from a business perspective, D365 finance and operations cover like many important areas: finance, managing accounts, reporting and budgets, sorry, and supply chain handling, inventory warehouse, and logistics also. And HR models basically employer data payrolls and benefits. Retail and commerce, basically it is used for sales, customers, point of sales, and the project modules is for project planning, time cost, and billing also. And so from a technical perspective, D365 Finance and Operation is built on the Microsoft technology stack. Like it is used SQL Server database to store like all businesses data, and the application objects AOS is the engine that run the application and execute the business's logics. The entire system is like hosted on the Microsoft Azure cloud, which makes it secure, scalable, and easy to manage. And for development, we use X++ as the main programming language, and we write code inside Visual Studio with the D365 Finance and Operation extension. But the ecosystem is not limited to the just ERP. D365 Finance and Operations also connects very well with other Microsoft technology through integrations. We can use OData and APIs to communicate with external systems, and we can extend functionality using the Power Platform, like building apps with Power Apps, automating tasks with Power Automate or analyzing data with Power BI. So when we say ecosystems, think of D365 Finance and Operation as a complete business solutions powered by Microsoft technology, like integrated with the cloud and extendable through multiple tools. And now let's talk about X++ programming, which is the heart of technical development in D365 Finance and Operation. So X++ is the main programming language used in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. If you want to write logic, build, customization, or extend features, so you will use X++ programming language. So basically, it is an object-oriented programming language, which means it works with classes, objects, and methods, just like C Sharp or Java. So if you have worked with C Sharp or Java before, so learning X++ will feel familiar. So what makes X++ special is its integration with database. Normally in programming, you write SQL queries separately, but in X++, you can work with tables directly in the language. For example, you can use select statement inside X++ code to fetch data from tables like first table or any like vendor tables. So we use X++ for many things in D365 finance and operations, like writing business logics and rules such as validating customer orders, applying discounts, or like calculating totals, data manipulation, like inserting new record, updating existing one, deleting data, or query large sets of information, and extended like standard forms, tables, report provided by Microsoft. So we can adapt the ERP system to fit a company unique needs. And like suppose when you run X++ code, so it execute on the application object servers. The AOS like is like the brain of the D365 finance and operations. So it processes all the logic and communicates with SQL database. And now let's look at the development tools and environments we use in the D365 finance and operation technical work. The main tool is Visual Studio, but it is not the normal Visual Studio you may have used before. It comes with special D365 Finance and Operation extensions that allow us to work with ERP objects like tables, forms, and classes. Inside Visual Studio, we have the AOT like application object tree. This is where we see all the elements of the systems, such as tables, forms, class, menu, items, and more. The AOT is the place where most of our development happens for managing. And for managing environments, we use Lifecycle Services, LCS. This is a web-based portal provided by Microsoft with LCS. We can deploy environment like development environment, test environment, production environment, apply updates, and manage hotfixes. We also use Azure DevOps. This is important for version control, saving our code safely in repository, task management like tracking development work, pipelines, setting up automated build and release process. And when it comes to environments, they are usually three main types like one was development was VM like sandbox, production environment. So the development tools and environments together give us a complete setup to build, test, and deploy solutions in D365 finance and operation. Understand the development and deployment process in D365 finance and operation. So basically, this is a journey of our code from writing it to running it in production. So basically, this process start with the development. We write our X++ code in Visual Studio. Once the code is ready, so we do a build. Building means the code get compiled into .NET assembly, so the system can understand and run it. And now then go to the build process and then deploy to environment. And in D365 finance and operation, our code and object are going to organize into model and packages. So let's understand what is these terms means. A model is like a project. It contains related objects such as table, forms, classes, menu items. For example, if you are building a custom HR model, so you could create a model called HR customization and put all the related elements inside it. And package is a bigger unit that can contain one or more model. Think of it as a folder that group models together. For example, the application suite package provided by the Microsoft contains many models like account receivable, account payable, general ledger, and so on. And the best practice for developer is always keep a customization in a separate model. This way, we do not touch Microsoft standard code and upgrades our update become easier. Now let's talk about the AOT, application object tree. The AOT is the like central place inside Visual Studio where all elements of D365 finance and operations are stored. You can think it is a library that contains like everything inside the AOT. We have different elements type like tables where data is stored, forms the user interface screen like classes where we write business logic, PDT, extended data type like the reusable data definitions, enum, predefined list of value, menu items. Like as a developer, we spend most of our time in like in the AOT, creating or extending these elements to meet business requirement. Models group. So to summarize, model group related objects. Package hold models and are used for deployment, and the AOT is a tree in Visual Studio where all elements live. Now let's begin our first technical topic in X++, like variable data types and classes. So variable is like a box that store a value. We can create a variable, store value inside them, and use them later in our code. For example, if we want to store a number or a name, so we use variables. And a data type tell the system what kind of value a variable can hold. If suppose common data types in X++ are like int. Int basically stored a whole number. Whole number means like 10, 20, 5, 6. This type of number basically int is stored. And real, like real means like decimal numbers, 10.5. This type of number is stored in a real number. Like string basically stored a text like customer name, customer address, and classes. Basically, class is like a blueprint. It groups related code into methods, so we can reuse it in X++. A class has methods function that do the work. Uh, Now I'll show you a demo how to create models and classes. So, so here you can see this is my Visual Studio. And there and here you can see already projects I have created. Now I'm going to create a new models and projects. So here you can see continue without code. Click on it. On the left hand side, this is application AOT. Here you can see data types, data model. Like here you can see table also, table extensions. In code here you can see classes. And this is a D365 finance and operation extension. Here you can see Dynamics 365. This is a extension. So suppose I want to create a models. So I will go to Dynamics 365, then model management and create a model. Then here you can type your model like I'm going to type like D365 finance and operation. Model publisher name you can type here. It is FO. And here you can type model description. What is the description of this model? I'm going to click next and select create new package. Click on next. And here you can see there are all lots of packages are there. So I'm not going to select any package. Click on next. Now my model is created, and now I need to create a project. So D365FO, click on create. And here you can see my project is created, D365 Finance and Operations. And this is my model, D365FO. And suppose now I'm going to create a class. So I will click on right click and then go to the add. Here you can see class option up there. So I'll click on class. And you can see here you can see there are different classes are there. This is test class, this is runnable class. So I will choose runnable class here. So basically runnable class is also called a job. So it is a special type of class in X++. So basically it is used to run a small piece of code, like with small piece of code quickly, easily for testing, debugging, or like learning purpose. So jobs are not for production logics. They are mostly for developers to try code here. So I'm going to create a runnable class here. And here you can type your runnable class name. I will just default one. Already created. Okay. So I'll choose runnable class 2. Click on add. So here you can see my class is created, runnable class 2, and this is boilerplate code. So suppose I want to write a logic here like data types. So common data type in X plus are like integer, like so I will type int like age is equal to 25. So here int is a like data type and age is a variable. So here number and here age is a variable and int is a data type. So here you can here we can define in int and else also. So suppose to write real is like real price. So here real will store like a decimal number string like CP. So this way you can define a data types and write a variables, create a variables here like int. This is int. So basically int store a whole numbers like 25. Here age is like a variables. Okay, and this is real data types. Basically real store a decimal number, and this is a price is a variables, and a string basically stored a text like here customer name, customer address. So basically these programs show how variables of different data types store values. And you can also define date here like the boolean. Boolean means like boolean store true or false basically, and date also can be from that. Basically, date store a calendar date. Actually, so this is the way you can define data types and variables, and you can write a logic here. And here you can see there are lots of options are there. Dynamic 365. Suppose you want to refresh some models, so you can click on refresh model. Then your model is refreshed. And here you can see in the left hand side, you can see the AOT basically. In AOT, there are like suppose you want to see code in classes, like there are lots of classes are there. Basically. So the forms are also there. Form extensions, menu extensions are there. Like so basically, this way you can create a classes and define the data types and write a variable here. So now I like to open the floor for Q&A, question and answer. Please feel free to ask any questions related to today session, today topic, whether it's about like D365